So we have an interesting bit of information that comes courtesy of JT Prime 17 and the local retail listings and computer listings from Target and Walmart of a potential new sub-series of Transformers that will be debuting in 2025. And it's that of the Transformers Swapticons line. Now, we don't have much information on it right now, but through these listings, we do have pretty much a whole bunch of what those assortments will be and the characters featured in them. Some of them pretty interesting, but I do see a little bit of a trend going on here, and we're going to discuss that here today on the Transformers Slag podcast and try to make sense of it like we always do here. So let's jump into it. So first of all, let's start with the title, Swapticons. That's a trademark that's never been used before with Transformers, although it's very interesting that they go with Swapticons, because the Ticons, the cons part, that's very Decepticon in leaning, and the fact that this seems to apply to both Autobots and Decepticons, that is kind of an odd choice of verbiage. It's always been, Dinobots, aerial bots, Protectobots, and then you had Constructicons, it's Combaticons, and so on and so forth. So it's very bizarre that they went with that cons kind of lean. But again, it's happened before. We had the Omnicons is probably a good example with Energon, despite the fact that those were very exclusively a Autobot related team. So I guess old habits die hard, and they died very hard here. So let's get into these. So we have a few listings here. We'll go through them and kind of make sense of it and what I think is probably going on, because while it could be interpreted that, we have these listings and they come as pairings. We'll start with the first one here, the Swapticon Optimus and Ultra Magnus. And it's like, are these like crash combiners? And it's two figures that combine together, but there's not a swap element there. Is it something that's maybe similar to what we got with the Hero Mashers and the Robo Mashers, where you swap pieces between two characters? That's a possibility too. But what's interesting about all of these two packs that are mentioned is there's very strong similarities between the alt modes of these characters. So we'll go through them. So again, Swapticon, Optimus Prime, and Ultra Magnus. Two characters historically, flat-nose trucks with trailer. Similarity there. Swapticon, Megatron, and Shockwave. So this could go two ways. Could be two characters that have guns for alt modes, although this would be interesting to see a gun Megatron in the U.S. retail market today. Or alternatively, what I think will probably happen, Spider tank kind of Shockwave with tank kind of Megatron. That's probably what they're going to go with. Unfortunately, for some fans, they're probably hoping for a gun Megatron. Swapticon, Bumblebee, and Hot Rod. Old Bumblebee is more compact vehicle, but modern Bumblebees, let's start with, let's say, Transformers Prime onward, and even going into a little bit with the Michael Bay stuff, have been more of that, souped up kind of race car kind of thing going on. And same thing with Hot Rodded race car kind of thing, more Cybertronian leaning or future. It is the year 2005, but still two kind of like race car kind of elements, similar kind of alt modes. Then you got Grimlock and Snarl in a two-pack, two dinosaurs. Need I say more? Then we got Swapticon, Cheetor, and Tigatron, two big cats. One's a cheetah, one's a Siberian tiger, if you will. Swapticon, Starscream, and Thundercracker, two jets. All right. Here's an interesting one. Swapticon, Nemesis Prime, and Clench. Now, let's just focus on Clench for a second before we go to the similarities. Clench was exclusively a G1 European release from the Obliterators, and 1993, very tough to get if you're a Western collector, in decent shape and complete. And that was a trademark that kind of just came and went. I think he was renamed Colossus at a re-release at one point in 94. Again, very weird how the trademarks were in Europe. I mean, we had characters called Hot Rod that were not Hot Rod. And then we didn't see that Clench trademark until Armada, and this is where I think there's a lot of inside baseball stuff going on here, because we have a Galvatron coming out soon in Legacy United, and Clench was the name of Galvatron's Minicon, so maybe Hasbro's just trying to line up a trademark right now so they could have Clench nice and tucked away for a future Minicon release and possibly a later one. But we'll see with that. Again, that was a 2004 Minicon with Armada Galvatron. And then, of course, we had Clench updated as best we could back then in BotCon 2010, using that Onslaught Classic / Universe 2.0 mold back in the day. And that was it for Clench. No trademarks since then, really. There obviously was some stuff through other Hasbro brands, but nothing Transformers proper. So what's going on with a Nemesis Prime and a Clench here? Well, let's break it down. They're two darker trucks, for one, but more so darker trucks that more or less historically have been long-nosed trucks. I mean, some Nemesis Primes and Scourges have been flat noses, but in general, they've been long-nosed trucks. So you have the flat noses with the Optimus and the Ultra Magnuses, and then you have the long-nosed trucks that have a darker kind of turn to them with the Nemesis Prime and the Clench here. Shadow Panther and Ravage. Same thing kind of going on with the Nemesis Prime and the Clench. We already have two big cats with the Cheetor and the Tigatron. Now we have two big cats that are dark-colored scheme. Shadow Panther and Ravage, which, depending on which continuity you're talking about, are technically even the same character, depending how you lean it. So two big black cats? I don't know, you know? And then we got a Wild Jungle Mission 5-pack, which could be, I don't know, a whole bunch of multiple parts. What I think is going on here, because of the similarities with the alt modes, is I think we might have a case of a gimmick sideline similar to that of like what we got with movie stuff with like Stealth Force and all of that. We might have a gimmick sideline here where it transforms from one alt mode to another. And the reason why I lean more on the alt mode part, because, and I could totally be wrong, this is just me speculating, but it's just because of the similarities between most of these and their alt modes. For an Optimus to turn from a red truck to a white truck with a different kind of trailer, or a Megatron turning from one kind of spider tank to another kind of tank, or Hot Rod turning from one race car to a yellow race car, and I could go on. A cheetah to a striped tiger and stuff like that. Two different kinds of jets. I mean, there might be a robot mode element in there too, but I really feel that there's the similarities here more than anything very lean much on the alt mode. And that might be a big part of this component with the Swapticons. But again, we're just reading into listings, and that's all we have right now. And this is something that's going to be in 2025, so we probably won't learn much about it for the time being, but there will be something. And at least we have listings now, so at least if you were looking forward to a Clench in some shape or form, he'll get some kind of update, just maybe not in the way you were hoping in the current way. But again, it registers a trademark. It leads to us probably getting a mini-con at some point, and then potentially a proper update of the actual European UK exclusive character. So we will see what happens with that. Let me know what you think about all of these. Do you dig these? Is my assessment of this wrong, or do you think there's something maybe different going on here? I could totally be wrong, but that's what I kind of take away from it because of that whole lean on the alt modes. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk again really soon here on the Transformers Slag podcast. And as always, thank you for listening.